It's amazing. It's like a massive watchtower, or like a kind of, it's almost like a tripod, isn't it? Greetings and welcome back to more Stranded Deep, for an update has been released. Oh yes, that's right, we are on version 0.05.E3. The latest experimental build is available via Steam. You have to opt into it through the betas tab if you haven't done so and you want to take a look. And it's packed with loads of interesting stuff, none of which I was expecting or anticipating, but we've got it anyway. So let's dive in and see what it's all about. So the first thing that we notice, of course, is we have a new main menu here. They've rejigged the main menu once again. This is part of, I think, a lot of background work that's been going on with the UI. They've been preparing for various things in-game and developing the UI so that they can actually edit it and mess around with it. And that is what we see has happened here. But more importantly than that, of course, we have new options. We have My Game and Map Editor. Now, Map Editor is perhaps the chunkiest bit of the update. It's the most significant bit, and it's the thing that I was not expecting at all. We now have the ability to create and edit our own island maps. That's the terrain itself, along with things like the vegetation, even some of the sea life and stuff that goes in and around the island, which is pretty huge, actually. It's pretty huge. It means all of those complaints I've had about the islands, yeah, I can actually dive in and start to fix it, and make bigger islands and more interesting islands. At least that's what I hope. This is the first time that I'm firing it up, so I guess we'll have to wait and see. So here we are, the map editor. I guess, yep, look, I can look around. I've got like a little basic island bit. I guess, is this kind of lighter blue area? This is probably like the extent, the maximum size of one island cell. Now, I believe you can create larger islands by effectively editing them one cell at a time, and although it might be a little bit tricky to get them to line up neatly, I think that is supposed to be possible in theory. We might have a play with that later and see what we can achieve, but for now, let's just make ourselves a little island here using the basic tools that we've got. And terrain editing is pretty familiar to anybody who's done sort of terrain editing in Unity or other games that provide these sorts of features. We've got a brush, it's just a raise brush, and we can just kind of like, look, sort of raise up the terrain up out of the ocean. Texturing is taken care of automatically by the engine, so this is, I think, the first pass texturing. It's done purely on height above sea level or below sea level if it's below sea level. In the future, I'm sure they will have texturing that will actually take into account the angle of the terrain, possibly what kind of vegetation and stuff is around it, and dynamically fill all that in for you. Or maybe they'll just allow you to paint those textures on, which at the moment you can't do. It's really just, at this stage, building the three-dimensional structure of the island up and then populating it with objects and things like that. And there's all sorts of brushes. Look, we've got kind of a ripple brush here that allows us to do, I guess, kind of dunes or like underwater ripples. It's all very simple and intuitive and easy to use, which is exactly what you want from a terrain editor. And if you want more power and more features, I think it does have a height map import tool, so you can build your terrain in whatever your favored terrain editing program, or even just, I guess, map it out in Photoshop in grayscale, import it in and have it render that terrain out for you and then start populating it with all of your stuff. So there we go. We have kind of a slightly odd looking island. It's got a big hump in the middle. I think probably much larger than any of the normal hills or things that we find in the island. So it'll be interesting to see this. Oh, look at that. You can actually set the size of the brush to enormous and paint like whole swathes of the island in one go. Was that working? I think we may have just made sort of big lumps and stuff in the terrain now. We'll see what this actually looks like. Oh, look, there's the tiny, tiny brush. Is this brush? I'm pretty sure that brush is actually smaller than the vertex resolution of the island. Look, nothing's happening when I click it. Hello? Nothing? Let's make it a little bit bigger. Let's try that. Yeah, there we go. Look, you can actually see the vertex resolution there. Look, if we zoom in a little bit, you can see where the actual vertices of the island are, and let's make this slightly smaller so we can get one. I will just use like a normal brush. Here we go. Look, there you go. That's like one vertex of the island. So obviously, you know, you need to be a little bit careful. You need to understand a little bit about terrains and how they work and stuff to make a really nice terrain. But it's all pretty straightforward, and with a little bit of practice, pretty much anyone can be whipping up nice terrains in no time at all. Of course, an island that doesn't have any items or objects on it is going to be pretty dull if it's just terrain, but fortunately, look, we can put all of the objects in the game on our island. At least that's what it looks like. We've got everything. Look, flippers, fuel can, goggles, hammer, knife, duct tape, crude spear, crude hammer, basically all of the various things that you can either craft or find in the game, you can place on your island maps. So you can, just have a bonanza. You can just give yourself everything you could possibly need. But perhaps more interestingly, we'll be actually creating kind of adventure maps. And by restricting access to some of these items and doling them out carefully in Rex through sort of like, maybe slightly more well-constructed, slightly more handcrafted sections of map, I think it could be really cool. But let's look at the plant and the vegetation and stuff first, shall we? We'll come back maybe and look at the items later. For now, let's just look at the natural components. We just got to drag from here. Look, there we go. Okay, so it's drag and drop. Drag from the little preview window. Let's put yucca down. Let's put lots of yucca down. It looks like it actually conforms to whatever the slope of the bit of terrain that you place it on is. So it takes the normal from the terrain, and that's kind of the angle that it will be at, which is perhaps a little bit weird. For some things, it might be nice if you could lock them to a horizontal kind of thing. Can we duplicate it? We can, and look, it preserves it then. So you might want to just kind of like, when placing trees, possibly place one tree, get it sort of pointing straight up, and then clone it multiple times and just sort of drag it to where you want. I don't know. I'm sure there'll be different ways and means of making sure your workflow is as easy as possible, and I'm sure there will be iterations and improvements on this editor as well. It's actually no small task making a nice, easy-to-use terrain and level editor, and I think they've done really well. I can see that actually this is perhaps where a lot of their development time has gone over the past few months. I suspect they probably had an early version of this tool themselves for quite a while that they've been using for building the islands and stuff that we've seen in the experimental version. So the fact that they've decided to... Oh, wait a minute, look at this. It's just kind of like straight up. It's just pointing straight up. We can make like a fence or something here. Look, let's make like a little picket fence. So I'm sure that they've been working on this for quite some time, and I think it's absolutely a brilliant plan to open this up to the community and to get people creating their own islands. I would like to see if they're going to do this, though. Okay, we'll just ignore that one there. If they're going to do this, I would like to see them going the whole hog and really giving us tools to help us populate these islands in interesting and creative ways. And for that, I think we're going to need things like, just simple basic things like something that we can write on in-game, something that we, like a book or a note or something like that, where we can actually convey information about the island, insert a little bit of lore or put directions or something like that. I think that would be really handy. Obviously, like modding tools, like scripting tools, would be fantastic if they were made available so that we could actually implement some of our own game logic. Look at this, we're just chucking trees down now. Ficus 1, Ficus 2 and Ficus 3. We'll just stick these basically all over the place, all over the island. We'll make it almost like a forest. Hopefully we'll either be able to texture the ground ourselves soon, which I don't think is possible now, or the procedural texturing will take into account the kind of vegetation there is there, and it will procedurally texture some slightly more, I don't know, like leaves or something, or dirt, that kind of thing. What else have we got here? Alocasia 1 and Alocasia 2, kind of a big broad-leafed plant of some sort. We'll just plonk a few of those around. We'll just keep plonking down lots of vegetation and things, and see where we get and what we have. Alright, I think that's probably enough vegetation for now. Let's just chuck a few of these rocks in so that we can see what they're like in-game. Of course, this is the sort of thing that you can spend hours and hours, if not days, crafting. I mean, you could spend a long time crafting your perfect island, and sort of, making sure that all of the things were exactly where you wanted them. You could create interesting little jumping puzzles and stuff. I can see that being something that is potentially going to come. You could create like little raised areas that were difficult to access, that you had to jump around and generally work your way up, and then perhaps were in danger of falling off and breaking your legs and all sorts of other fun things like that for survivors to do. Maybe put some like valuable loot at the top. I'm sure all of that will come in time. All right, so that's I think enough with the stones, the large stones. We've put a few of them around the island, and I've just used a few to mark out the perimeter of the map so that we can see how big it is. What else have we got? Animals. Oh, look at this. We can place our own sharks. We can place like a reef shark, a marlin, great white sharks, tiger sharks, the whole works. You know what we could do? We could have like a lagoon. We could have like a lagoon with our own shark, just sort of like living inside it. You could basically make an entire map just as a kind of weird aquarium type thing. In fact, let's do it right now. Let's do it right now. We've totally got enough room to put a lagoon here. There we go. Look, a nice little lagoon for our shark to live in. Just make it a little bit deeper. Just use the set height brush just to give it a little bit of depth so that old Damien has plenty of room to swim around in. Then where are you? Great white shark. Of course, we have to drag and drop. So there we go. There he is. Look, it's Damien. Damien, the great white shark, living in his little lagoon, having fun. Let's give him a friend. You can have a reef shark as a friend. Maybe a marlin as well as, possibly friends or maybe just food. Crab homes, I guess we can use these as well to provide a nice renewable source of food on our island for our island survivor. They can just come and sort of like hang out at the shore of the lagoon, say hello to Damien, harvest them up some crabs, and then go and cook them and have an awful lot of fun. Fantastic. All right, what else have we got? Structure. Oh, there's just so much. There's so much stuff. There's like all of the wrecks and everything. Look at this. Oh, that is so cool. You could make such an interesting environment with all of this stuff. All right, let's plonk a few wrecks around. We'll have to be a little bit careful that we don't place any wrecks that you might be able to get trapped in, sort of like above sea level, because most of these are meant to be underwater, I think, or a lot of them are anyway. Oh, look, we can even place sea fort bits. Oh, yes, look at this. I mean, these are some of the most interesting, like structurally interesting things in the game because they actually provide you with a bit of internal space and some kind of like, exploration possibilities. Look, we could just have a few of them. Should we put one up on the hill? Look, look, it's even got its little like stand bits. Look, let's raise it right up. Look, here we go. Up it goes. It's amazing. It's like a massive watchtower or like a kind of, it's almost like a tripod, isn't it? Except for the fact that obviously it's got 4 legs. So it's like a quad pod. It's a quad pod standing over our island, looking down upon the poor saps who have been stranded there. Made slaves of them, possibly even have put caps on them and stuff, but it cares not. And look, you can't even get into it because the ladder is just way too high up in the sky. Let's put a rowboat. Let's just put a rowboat down, maybe like on the side of the thing. Actually, no, look, let's get rid of that. Hold on, you can go down there. You can just stick into the side of the mountain. Let's put like a proper shipwreck just sat right on top. Ah, yes, that's fantastic. Look at that. We just got a shipwreck just kind of plonked on top of our little pillar of rock here next to the quad pod, just hanging out with it. I mean, they're like friends. Maybe the quad pod has brought it here and put it down there so that it can sort of talk to it and all of that kind of good stuff. All right, fine. Look, let's stop Oh, it's a UFO. When was that put in the game? Did other people know that there was a UFO in the game? Has anyone actually come across that? Like, crashed underwater? Is this just like a massive spoiler? Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! There is a UFO in the game, it seems, and we can now place it in the editor. Let's let's just have it kind of like crashed into the side of the island or something. Wait, hold on. Back here. Let's just put it maybe like so it's like nosedived into the island. There we go. Look. There we go. Crashed straight into the side of the island. Fantastic. I think this island is pretty much there. What else have we got? Gameplay. Okay, so these are like the various containers, like lockers and things. We'll just plunk a few of these down on the beach, just to see, primarily to see if they actually self-populate, whether the game will randomly put things in them, or whether you have to like manually do that when you're creating your level. So let's just plonk a few of these down. We can see what they're like. We can see what they contain, if they indeed contain anything at all. And of course, it'll mean we've got a ton of stuff to play with. Misc package. All right, this is like the thing that you get like right at the start of the game. Hold on, what's wrong there? You get these sort of washed up from your plane or something. We'll put one of them down. What else have we got? Diver slate. Of course, we've got Wally. Actually, let's Let's just raise that up and see if physics takes over and drops it down. That'll be an interesting experiment. The driver slate, Wally, of course. We'll put him in. Why not? We've got to have Wally. Or Wilson, as I prefer to call him. We'll see if he floats as well, or whether he will physics down to the ground. A warning sign. That's a new one on me. Driftwood Decal, okay. A boy, fine. And an ocean mine. Have I come across ocean mines? I don't remember coming across an ocean mine before. Let's put one in. Look at that! It's just like way up in the air. All right, we'll sink it down into the sea so that it makes a little bit of sense. I think that's probably, we've got enough crazy floating stuff. I think having a mine in the lagoon it's enough that it's just a mine in the lagoon with a great white shark, I think. All right, good. And a raft. Might as well put a raft in so that we can do some swimming around and stuff. We'll have that floating as well. We'll see if that drops down. Fantastic, there we go. That's pretty much all that we can place on it by the looks of it. We can have a little play around with the camera in a second, but this has taken me just a little bit under half an hour. Now, admittedly, I've not been paying a great deal of attention or care, but nonetheless, I think we've got, an interesting looking little island here, which I think goes to show just how simple and intuitive this level editor is, which I think bodes very well for the future of Stranded Deep and indeed community content creation. But I think we've seen pretty much everything there is to see in the map editor for now. I'm sure there will be more features to come in the future. There's obviously various things that we could still place that we haven't yet placed. Lanterns and flashlights and stuff like that. But we know what all these things are. A label maker? Is that new? Maybe a label maker is new, I'm not sure. Anyway, the last feature in the map editor is just this camera mode, which allows you to, there we go, take pictures, I guess, of your map. Maybe that's important for sharing maps, for sort of like creating thumbnails and things. But basically, that's pretty much it as far as the map editor goes. They have also added a world editor, which is a way of stitching together the maps that you want, and it has a few interesting features to it, and there's some other changes and bits and pieces. But let's just save this map right now. How do I save? There we go, escape. Save the map. Let's give it a name. What should we call it? The Wizarding Island of Wonderful Stuff? Yes, the Wizarding Island of Wonderful Stuff. There we go. And we'll give it a short description as well. Bit mad, ain't it? There we go. A mad little island. Now, there is, of course, the world editor, which has the ability to stitch the maps together, like I said. We'll take a look at that next time, along with taking a wander around our Wizarding Island of Wonderful Stuff and checking out the new crafting features and some of the new UI changes that have taken place in the game. But until then, thanks a lot for watching, everybody. If you're not subscribed and you want to keep up to date on Stranded Deep and the many and varied other games that I play, often in a rather silly manner, please do think about subscribing. I have been Weird Wizard. Thanks a lot for watching, and I will see you later. Ready? Pow! Oh, right in the gentleman's region. But again, he didn't even flinch. This barbarian is made of some seriously stern stuff. Is it even working? I'm not sure. Let's try again. Ready?